Let me show y'all how I cook ribs on a Weber. And look at that loin right there, just peeling off. Nice and pretty as it can be. This is a simple, easy rib. Let me show you how we cook it. All right, the first thing we want to do to cook our ribs on this Weber is set it up for 2-zone grilling. So I'm going to go ahead and get my dome off here. And you can kind of see over here, I've already got a water pan set in, and I also have my little charcoal basket in. So I want to take some Royal Oak charcoal here. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill these charcoal pan up just with a little bit of charcoal. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get this about like that, right? And you can see we're leaving just a little bit down here on the end. So now I'm going to get my rack back on, my grate. All right, now I'm going to take a charcoal chimney here and get me a little bit of charcoal lit. Now I'm not using a lot of charcoal. You can see I may be using a little less than half of a chimney. So I'm going to take a couple of tumbleweeds from Royal Oak here. Go ahead and set them down, light them up, and get this fire going. Now, once these coals get good and lit, we're gonna pour them in. All right, the first thing we wanna do to our Weber ribs is go ahead and get our Prairie Fresh Prime baby back ribs cut out of the pack. Y'all know I love them Prairie Fresh baby backs. Now, go down through here. And the one thing I didn't do was put some gloves on. So I'm gonna stop right now, wash my hands, and put some gloves on before I skin this rib. All right, the first thing I want to do is get these baby back ribs skinned, and y'all know how I do it. I'm going to go with that thumb in between those bones. I'm going to just follow that bone line down. All you got to do is kind of dig in that meat with your thumb. That's why I put a glove on. Go in it, and look at that, rip it right off. And if it starts tearing, just wrap it around your fingers and go right off with it. It's just that easy. Now, you're always going to have a little bit of like sludge down here. This end bone is sticking on the end. It's never going to be any good. I'm just going to trim a little bit of that flap off right there. But I'm not going to trim anything off of this rib. It's kind of short enough, in my opinion, to go on the Weber. And that way, if we get any kind of crispy edges, we can knock it right off and keep going on eating. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some mustard on this rib here. So I'm going to squirt some on and then start some seasoning. Get that rubbed on. Now I'm going to turn this rib back over. Now the first thing I'm going to use is some of my hot barbecue rub. Now this is not really that hot. This is probably the best all-purpose barbecue rub you can use on all 4 meats. This is the one rub that goes great on chicken, beef, or pork. It does not matter. And so the heat cooks off of it, but it's just a great all-purpose barbecue rub. I'm gonna get that layered on first, all right? And then y'all know I'm gonna come back with a little honey for that money. That honey rub's got me paid a lot on the barbecue circuit. But it also gets you a lot of compliments on your barbecue grill from your next door neighbor. Now, remember, hot rub as a layer. And tilt that rib up. All right, once we get that hot rub on it, we're gonna come back with a little bit more of that honey. All right, we're just gonna let it set here and let it sweat in. Get our Weber charcoal dump and get ready to put this rib on. All right, now that our charcoal is burned down, you can see that it's turned good and white here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just gently set this down here, and I'm gonna remove my grate. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in here on the charcoal side that we left a little hole, right? Now, as soon as you get all those in there, we're gonna go ahead and take a handful of wood chips here, and these are hickory wood chips, and you can see I'm gonna go ahead and just spread them out a little. Get our Weber set back up there. Clean that rack off. Now we're gonna get the grill lid shut and get our temp going, and we're gonna get a slab of ribs on. Now, I'm gonna open my grill lid up. I'm gonna say about halfway on the top here, and I'm gonna come down here on the bottom, and you can see all the way to the end is closed. I'm gonna run this out to about the 2nd or 3rd little number there, or little opening, and that should give us plenty of inlet. We're gonna adjust it from there. All right, you can see our Weber grill is running a little, I'm gonna say about 380 degrees. It's steady coming down a little bit. We've adjusted our bottom vent to where we're on just the first dot, just a little past it. so it's barely open. We should be somewhere, we should get down to around 350 degrees is what I'm hoping. I've got my vents shut here just the way I want them, about 2/3 of the way shut. So I'm gonna get my grill lid off real quick, get my slab of ribs on the cool side, and get it shut back. All right, let's get that shut back and let those ribs smoke. All right, it hadn't even been 5 minutes, and I told you where I adjusted those grates at, the grill would be at 350. Look at that. We're 350 degrees, folks. Just gotta keep a watch on it, adjust it a little bit. If it drops past that, just open up your vent a tad bit more and leave the top vent alone, and we'll be perfect. All right, our ribs have been on this Weber for 1 hour. As you can see, they are looking phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and spray them with a little bit of water. You can use apple juice or anything like that you want. And I'm just gonna keep letting them smoke. Look at that beautiful color. Let's get the grill lid back on and keep letting it go. All right, our ribs have been on this Weber kettle for 1.5 hours. We've only spritzed them 1 time, but let's get in here and look at them. I can tell you now, look at the phenomenal color they have. And I'm gonna go ahead, look at that. That is a great rack of ribs. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get this wrapped up with a little bit of that butter bath, get it back on. And I'm gonna say another hour or so, and we're gonna have some tender ribs on the Weber. All right, I've got a piece of foil doubled up already. I've got a sheet pan here so none of my butter bath runs out. That's just a little tip that I always tell people. And I'm gonna go ahead and I have to take this full slab of ribs, turn it face down. Now, if you wanna add any more brown sugar, honey, any barbecue sauce, anything you like to the wrap that's not gonna like go crazy with the flavor profile that you're cooking, you can by all means add it. I just keep it simple with my butter bath. I've got a 1/4 cup of butter bath, 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. I'm gonna get this wrapped up, this rib slab, and let it roll. This just makes it so simple and so easy to me. I mean, if you wanna use other stuff in the wrap, you can, but I'm getting the same results you are at the end of the day. A whole lot faster, and a whole lot less messier. Another 45 minutes to 1 hour and we'll check them. All right, these ribs are going back on the Weber. Let's get them on and set a timer for 1 hour, and then we're gonna get in here and check them. All right, our ribs have been cooking for about 30 minutes. I haven't peeked in them. I'm gonna look in here though and spin those ribs around. And so I'm just gonna take them up real quick, spin them this way so the heat can come that way on that side of the rib, get the grill lid shut back, keep going for another 30 minutes and we'll see where we're at. All right, our rib has been on about 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm pretty sure it's done. It's got some phlegm to it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off and let it rest. Now, I just checked it with the thermometer, is hitting 206, 207, so I'm gonna call it good. Put my lid back on my charcoal grill because you know we gotta glaze this rib up. All right, our ribs are off of our Weber. They've been resting about 30 minutes. I hadn't unwrapped them, I hadn't done anything. Let's get in here and look at these ribs. Oh yeah. Nice bone pull back. Go ahead and dump that off, look at that. Roll that rib out of that juice there. Now if you had any pulled pork you were cooking today, you could take this juice, strain the grease off of it, and use it as a flavor enhancer in your pulled pork, just to help keep it moist. That's just another tip that I recommend you trying. Now look at the color of that rib coming out of that butter bath. That's incredible. That rib is a little warm. Let's turn this over. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just going my regular sweet sauce with this. Let me unscrew the lid off of that. I'm gonna pour a little bit on the back. Brush that in lightly. Put a little bit on here on the sides. I wish y'all could smell the way this rib tastes just been grilled, and I know it hadn't. We run a 2-zone fire, but the smell coming off of it is honestly just incredible, the wood-fired smell. All right, let's get this back over here to this Weber and let this tack up. All right, let's slide our tongs under and hold it, and get it back on. All right, let's give it about 10 minutes, folks, and we're gonna have ourselves an easy Weber grilled rib. All right, our ribs have been back on the cooker about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and set that dome down. Would you look at that beautiful rack of ribs that we just smoked on this Weber kettle here? That is honestly a beautiful rack of ribs. It smells incredible, looks incredible. Let's get them off the grill, let them cool down, and let's try them. All right, now that our ribs are off of our Weber grill, let's talk about them a little bit. I took some Prairie Fresh Prime baby back ribs, took them out of the pack, took the membrane off the back, rubbed them in a little bit of mustard, and then I just rubbed them down with hot rub and honey rub. I used a water pan and a 2-zone fire in my Weber 22-inch charcoal grill. And these ribs, you can see the color is great, everything is great, you can see the tenderness is great. We had a total cook time of about 2 hours, you know, before we wrapped them, and then we wrapped them for an hour. We only spritzed them one time. Using that water pan below the rib kept this rib really moist and the color looking really gorgeous. If I could tell you to do anything, it's after 1 hour, spin that rib around, rotate it, but that's completely up to you. It just depends on how dark it's getting on one side and how you're controlling your fire. All right, so you know I gotta do that rib man wave. Let's see if we can do it. And of course, we got it, that rib man wave. Now, here's the thing about that rib man wave. You gotta be able to lay that rib down, and you also gotta be able to break it right apart. And look at that, right away. Now this rib does have some integrity, but I can tell you that that rib has got the moisture. And you know they talk about that loin on top, right? Look at that loin right there. That's pure loin off of that baby back rib. So I can tell you, I know it's gonna be good. I can feel the moisture in my hands. Let's give it a try. All right, as you can see, I had to get a napkin. These ribs are honestly phenomenal. The smoky texture that it gets from those hickory chips that we put on top of that Royal Oak charcoal is honestly just great tasting. This takes me back to when I was a kid and my dad cooking ribs. Be sure to give this recipe a try and use your own rubs or your own technique, but cook it on a Weber. There's something different about that charcoal rib. If you like what we're doing on the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, follow along with your friends. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, and of course, YouTube. I'll see you next week with another video.